Hello. How are you? There we go. All right, now this is going to be a little bit of a different session. Tell you really quickly about myself. My name is Shira Abel. I live in Israel. I'm, as you can probably hear from my voice, originally from Southern California. I've been doing marketing and startups for the past 15 years. And now we're going to do a Q&A session. And like, there's more stuff, but just look me up on LinkedIn. Because honestly, just like, I can't be bothered. Questions? I just want to do a whole Q&A session. Yeah?
For many startups, when you're just getting started, marketing is this like weird, fluffy, like unicorn-like thing where you're not entirely sure what it means, but you know it sounds like a good thing to have, and you know it's connected with users and some form of like talking to them maybe. But like for early stage startups, like how would you define marketing and what startups should be doing? And maybe this is along the lines of what you actually help people do.
Okay, that's a really, really fun first question. Okay, so the question was, for startups that are just starting to do marketing, say you've got a couple of engineers and they don't necessarily know a lot about marketing, and then what do they end up doing? Because marketing is a lot like a pink unicorn, and fluffy clouds and pixie dust. So what I really love is when they tell me what their plans are, because I mentor at a lot of accelerators. So I mentored the Google Accelerator and the Microsoft Accelerator and the Founders Institute and blah, blah, blah. And I say, okay, what's your plan for marketing? And they said, we're going to go viral. Awesome. How do you plan on doing that? So let's take a step back and think about first of all, I'm speaking again at Pirate Summit. So the things I'm going to be doing, the things I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to make sure at Pirate Summit, the things I talk about are things I think about after this talk, and I'm like, I should have mentioned that, but I didn't. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that it's not the exact same information, but some of it will end up coincide. So first thing, when you first get your idea for your product, what are you going to do in order to get people to actually use your product? How are they going to find out that you exist? Now, saying that you're going to go viral is a really nice thing to say, but honestly, if nobody knows that you exist, you're not going to get to viral, you're not going to get to critical mass, and it's not going to happen. So unless you're the guy from Dollar Razor Stop who lives in Hollywood and has an improv background and has all of the connections in order to make that video for $5,000, and if you don't know the video I'm talking about, it's Dollar Shave Club, look it up on YouTube, it went viral. Now, on the other hand, his company didn't do particularly well. Right now, it seems to be doing okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a great product just because you've gone viral. So that's another thing you have to think about. At the core, it's the product. What is your product? Why are people going to use your product? Who is your customer? Another thing to look up, and I'll be mentioning that, is Jack Dorsey User Narratives. Look that up also on YouTube, and that'll be in the deck that I end up talking about at Pirate Summit. So who's your customer? Why are they going to use it? Why are they going to use your product? What do they need you for? What is their pain? Now, you've got two different types of products. You've got pain products, okay, where you end up needing an aspirin, and you've got other products where it's just a vitamin. Now, the vitamin products, you have to turn them into something that's addictive and a habit. Pinterest is a vitamin. There's no real pain out there that Pinterest solves, but I'm addicted to it completely. I get near it, and it's a time suck. I'm gone the rest of the day. So what is it that Pinterest has that gets me sucked in? What are you going to build into your product that gets your user sucked in? And you have to think about that. And you've got the feedback loop, okay? So what actions are you going to be doing? What variable rewards are you going to be giving the customer that's going to get them to come back on a regular basis? Now, this is if you're doing a web product. So what are variable rewards? Variable rewards means when you're playing a game. You're playing a game and you get so many points. But you don't know when the next gift of points is going to be. So you end up doing a whole bunch of things, and sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. And it's actually those variable rewards that gambling has that makes us addicted, okay? And that's what builds in a habit. It's a variable reward. When you're expecting something, it's not special, and you don't feel good from it. It's expected. I knew this was coming. But when it's a variable reward, it takes you in a whole different direction. When is it coming again? What do I have to do to get it? How do I change my behavior in order to get it because it makes me feel good. And I get a dopamine rush, and I like that dopamine rush. So what do you do to build in variable rewards? Something that Pinterest has is a never-ending loop. So you keep scrolling down the page, and it just keeps giving you more stuff to look at. Okay? So then you've got things that you like and that you don't like on the page. And when you see something you like, dopamine rush. And when you don't like it, no dopamine. So you keep looking for more.
Okay, that sounds like classic Skinner logic. Yeah, behavioral psychology.
Yeah.
But that would mean that you already have people you can test.
So getting them in the first place.
Yeah, kind of that. And I would like to ask, talk about two strategies that usually you can have organic growth, or can you make this big launch event? Yeah, and I would like to talk to you.
So organic growth. Usually, in the very beginning, it's kind of impossible to get organic growth without a certain amount of users, and also making sure that your viral coefficient is larger than 1. That's when organic growth happens. How many of you have read The Lean Startup? Okay, so you know what the viral coefficient is. So that's if more people, if 10 people are sharing, have used your product, 11 people have to hear about it afterwards. Basically, that's the viral coefficient summed up. So. So organic growth isn't really something to worry about in the very, very beginning because not enough, at this point, if you've nailed product market fit from the get-go, fantastic. But if you haven't, you're not going to get that organic growth. So really you should focus on product market fit. Product market fit is when 40% of your users who are using your product will be really, really, really unhappy and upset if suddenly you disappeared. So when you've got that, you know you've nailed it. Getting back to getting your original users. Getting your original users, there's 3 general ways in order to get people to find out that you exist and to come into your site. And those 3 general ways would be PR, okay, making a lot of noise in a lot of places. PR has a trust rate of about 40%. Ads have a trust rate of about 17%. But you can make them more focused. And what I've found the best way to do it is to do ads to a Facebook page, actually a like campaign, to a Facebook page, funnel them from the Facebook page into the website. Okay? If you are getting them to a web app, funnel them from ads on Facebook, mobile ads on Facebook, will nail them straight to the app. It's amazing. I think that Facebook mobile ads have probably the highest conversion of any I've seen. Mm-hmm.
I spent 10K on that.
Why?
Yeah, because I got it for free.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, someone else spent 10K, and I thought about the cost of the like was okay, but the cost of conversion to something else was super high.
Okay,
does it really work? Because
yeah, it really, really, really does.
Do you have a use case? Or something?
Yeah, I do actually. PreenMe. PreenMe is an Israeli company. My girlfriend Tamar, she's gotten her conversion cost down to 5 cents. Yeah, she comes from gambling. She knows how to nail the system better than anybody else I know, period. She comes from high-performance marketing in the gambling world. So when she switched over and started her own startup, she gamed the Facebook system. I don't know how. Okay, I'm not going to say she gamed the system because that sounds bad. But she was able to figure out the system in a way where she was able to pull it down to a really low cost. And actually, I probably shouldn't have said the cost, but anyway. So there you go. She was able to bring it down to really low. I don't know if it's still there. This was a year ago that we had the discussion, and I definitely shouldn't have said that on a Hangout. And this is the reason why I shouldn't give these talks after just a few hours of sleep. Sorry, Tamar. Love you. So what she did was she took the like campaign, funneled them into the page, and from the page funneled them into the website. Yes, if you give amazing content that your people love, and she has an obsessive fan base, okay? So if you've got amazing, amazing content and people love the content and they share the content, then you've got the whole viral growth factor. And what she did in the very beginning is before she even made the website, she made the page and she tested her content. Because she has a PreenMe is basically, it's like almost like an affiliate site. They sell the makeup, but they sell other people's makeup, and people say what makeup they like and what they don't, what works and what doesn't, etc. and so forth, and then they talk about the makeup and the hair and the blah 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 blah. And PreenMe, PREEN.me, it's awesome. She's amazing. She's probably one of the best marketers I know. Seriously, seriously talented. So she pulled the like campaign into the page, funnel them to the website. It really, really does work. And it works really, really well when you nail the content. But that's the thing. You have to nail the content. So how do you nail the content? Well, there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. If you don't ask people to do things, they're not going to. So if you don't ask them to like or share or something, and only one, because if you ask for all three, you're going to give them analysis paralysis and they won't do anything at all. Okay, so you have to be really focused on what you ask for. So ask for one thing, send them to one place, have them do one action. Don't make people think they don't like that. Make it simple, okay? And the simpler you keep it, the nicer they will be to you. And they won't go away, because when you make it complicated, they just leave. They don't need that. So putting in the right content, making sure the content is fun, engaging, stuff that they're interested in, ask them questions, build a community. These are all things that you should be doing. Example, when I was the head of marketing at Anaboom. This was an animation company years ago. And when I came in, the guy who was there before me had a background in SEO and SEM. And I changed our methodology of engagement, and all of our traffic was funneling in to our commercial YouTube site. And after changing our methodology of engagement, we doubled our views and doubled our revenue from our commercial YouTube site. So how you do it matters a lot. I cannot emphasize it enough. The other thing is, it's about giving more than about taking. Okay? It's about engaging rather than telling. People aren't interested in being told things. They're on social media in order to interact. So, you know, this is not an advertising medium. This is a medium where you're going to get in a conversation with your consumer. If you are not comfortable with that, do not go there. Because that means you're also going to catch them when they're not happy with your service. And they're going to rail on you on your Facebook page. And you're going to keep that complaint on the page, or else I'm going to find you and bitch slap you. Because when you take it off the page, it's the worst thing that you could possibly do, because it basically says to your consumer, I don't care about what you think, and I'm not going to take care of you. But when you leave it up, not only are you saying, I respect what you have to say, I care, and here's how I'm going to fix it. Because you're going to answer that person. You're going to apologize. And you're going to say, I'm so sorry that you had this bad experience. How can we make it up to you? What can we do to fix it? Blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to follow up and say, by the way, folks, this post, blah, 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 we fixed it by doing this, da, 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 da. Perfect example of this, Outbrain. This past week and a half, Outbrain was hacked by the Syrian something army thing, electronic army. Okay, Outbrain was hacked through phishing and somebody's password, and things were compromised. So what did Outbrain do? First of all, they shut everything down. They fixed it. Then they did a really long blog post of a timeline. This happened at this time. This happened at this time. This happened at this time. We shut everything down. Here's exactly how we responded to it, point by point by point. Here's how we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. That is how you respond to a customer who's unhappy. And that is how you get the respect and trust of all of your customers going forward, and of people who don't even know who you are. Why? Because people will forgive mistakes. What they do not forgive is callousness, ignoring, and mistreating. Okay? An honest mistake is one thing, but ignoring your customer is something else. Back to how you bring the people in. There are 3 ways, basically, when you're online. One is PR. As I said, 40% rate. 2 is ads, 14% rate, 17, something like that. And then you've got word of mouth, which is a 70% rate of trust. So what is word of mouth? Word of mouth is when your friend posts on their Facebook page, I'm thinking about buying this shirt, and the shirt is from Boden. And you're like, huh, she likes Boden. I'll go check out Boden. Boden is a British clothing company that I'm currently obsessed with. And so, you know, she's like, oh, okay, she likes Boden. I'm going to go check out Boden. And then your friend checks out Boden and decides to buy from Boden because you're buying from Boden. If you're buying from Boden, obviously the quality has to be of a certain level because you're a snob. So, you know, she's going to go and check out Boden, and that's how that works, okay? You have an automatic trust rate. The other thing you have to think about when it comes to PR, you may not see the results immediately. Why? Because a couple of different things. One, there's different places for you to be PR'd. Now, the places where startups are PR'd in the beginning are TechCrunch, The Next Web, where I write about Israeli startups. So TechCrunch, The Next Web, VentureBeat, All Things D, etc. and so forth, right? But this isn't necessarily where your target market is. So you're going to see a spike, and then it's going to die. You're going to be really excited, but nobody's going to stay. Okay? What is it there for? It is not there for you to bring in traffic, generally, unless you're somebody like Dropbox. It's there for your investors to feel better about the money they spent on you. Because if these guys are writing about you, that's social proof. Okay? Now, the other stuff will come later, but it doesn't come without this stuff. Why? Because how do we decide to buy? Think about it, okay? Everyone has a barrier to entry. Your brain has a barrier to entry. It takes between 10 to 100 mentions before somebody will even have a basic minimum trust level in your item and even consider buying it. That means they need to hear about you in 10 to 100 different places depending on the individual. Not everyone is an early adopter who hears about something like, yeah, I want that and I want it now, and I'm going to go spend $1,500 on Google Glasses because I want to stand in the shower like Robert Scoble. No. Okay, and please no. So, you know, I love Robert. But yeah, so I do love Robert, actually. My glasses with the Google Glasses picture is Robert Scoble's glasses. But my point being is that, you know, it's a lot of money to be spending for an item that's basically an alpha. And what incentive do you really have to spend that money on this other than the fact that, oh, cool, I have Google Glasses. Guess what? Everything that you could do on Google Glasses, you could do with your phone. You just won't be wearing Google Glasses. So you won't have that little bit of social proof in order to say that you're an early adopter and you spent the $1,500 on the Google Glasses. So people need to hear about things in a lot of different places. Hearing about you from earned media, which is PR, is one way to do that. Seeing an ad is another, but people are kind of blind to ads these days. Hearing about them from your friends is a third. And these are all different ways in order to pull people into your site. Yeah.
So, I had a question. I was wondering, some of the startups here are focused on B2C.
Yeah.
But some of other, I think, are going to go for B2B.
B2B.
So I was wondering, what are your tips on marketing for B2B services or products?
Okay, so for B2B, my tips for B2B would be along the lines of getting to know your customer. Okay? Because usually B2B, you have a smaller customer base, and it's a niche market in the beginning. Otherwise, you're going to be going up against major players, and you won't have you don't have the scale or the scope for that. You don't have the resources. So you're going to have to choose a niche, and you choose one niche in one geography. Okay. Say I want to have all of the medical companies in Berlin that do this know about my product, and then you start to make sure you research these companies, research the people in these companies, and you research them. I guess here it would be Zing instead of LinkedIn, and you, I mean, seriously research them, and you look at what they've done in their past, and you get to know, and you do your Google check online on where else they are, and where they've been before. Then figure out ways to meet them in ways that aren't necessarily going straight at them. You don't necessarily want to do the cold calling because that gives them an opportunity to say no, and you don't want that. So if you can get an introduction to them, that's ideal. If you can't get an introduction through your investors, which is usually how most B2B companies end up getting started, they have a smart investor that builds the first initial leads. And from those first initial leads, you start to get social proof in order to have more leads come in. So with B2B, it's about building up your sales funnel. And that's what marketing is. Marketing is about your reputation management and becoming an industry leader and a thought leader in whatever space that you've got. So that's blogging and everything else that goes along with it, and speaking at conferences and doing webinars and all of that. It's a lot of content, a lot of content.
So then it's the Salesforce team would be crucial in order to achieve that, because you wouldn't have enough people to actually...
Eventually, you'll need a Salesforce team, but in the beginning, you don't have the resources for that. So in the very beginning, you're everything. So you're writing the blog post, and you're having the meeting that the investor set up for you, and you're going to the conference and you're speaking at the conference until you have enough of a funnel built up where people are coming to you instead of you to them. And then at that point, you usually raise more money and you start hiring the team and you start scaling up. But you know, it's a little bit different for B2B. If you aren't funded, then it's about using your connections in order to get that initial introduction. It's a lot harder to say, it's a lot harder to say no to someone when you're introduced by a mutual friend than when you just go directly to them. Here's the other thing that's really hard. When you actually call them, because people these days are used to emails, so if you actually really want, you know, and you target the person in the organization, you find their first and last name, and you call, and you just ask straight from the desk, and then you say, look, I'm from a startup. By the way, when you make that phone call, stand up. You stand up, you smile. You wear your power outfit, okay? This goes for men and women. You wear your power outfit, you smile, and you pump yourself up before you make that phone call, because everything that you feel on the inside, you can hear through your voice. And if they hear that confidence and they can hear that you're going to nail this to the wall, they're going to listen to you. But if you sound kind of like this, and I was wondering if we could come and show you our products, they're going to say, you know what, I have a meeting in 5 minutes, can you call me back? And you're going to get voicemail. So don't do that.
Any
Sorry.
other questions?
Thank you. I just want to rewind a bit to maybe 15 minutes ago when you were talking about how you doubled or you increased significantly the traffic to a corporate YouTube channel. Could you go more into what happened there? Because that's interesting. What was the channel about? How did you change the things to increase that traffic?
So I'll tell you, there was a bunch of things that were going on there. The guy who was there before me had a background in SEO and SEM, and he was trying to game the system, and he didn't give. Okay, so the rules for the channel, and I don't know why these were the rules. I don't know if they were created by him or not. But the rules for the channel were, if an animator, it was an animation channel, okay, and it was animators worldwide who showed their work on the channel. And for some reason, if an animator wrote in before, the rule was, if an animator wrote in and asked for anything, we said no. Sorry, we're not allowed to do it. We don't want to send them anywhere away from our own stuff. That was one of the rules. I changed that. Not only did we change it where we didn't just say yes, I actually had my marketing assistant write to each and every one saying everyone that's already been, and they had 3 years worth of content on the commercial YouTube channel. 3 years worth of content before me, something like that, or at least a couple of years. I think it was 3. And they had always said no. So I had her write to every person that we had featured with a video on our commercial YouTube channel, and we said, we love your work. We think you're amazing. Thank you so much for sending this in to us. We love you so much. We want to do something for you. Can we put your website on there? Put your Twitter handle? Do you want us to change anything in the title, tags, or text? Because these are the only things that we can change. We couldn't upload a different video in the same space because it already had so many views, but we were able to, actually make changes in. And from that, when you have the opportunity, and this is actually really critical, when you have the opportunity to promote somebody else, they will promote you. And that is one way to get viral growth. So we had promoted all of these people and offered and gave. We also changed the way we handled the YouTube or the Facebook. We changed the way we engaged everyone on Facebook and also on Twitter. We got in a lot more conversations. We asked a lot more questions, and spent a lot more time answering. So our feeds, from one post on Facebook would grow longer and longer and longer because everybody would start to get into it, and it was really, really nice. It started to build up to be a real community. The company ended up pivoting in direction, but that's a whole other story. So for the year that I was there, we did really well on this. And another thing that we did was internally. Internally, before I had been there, we always had to have somebody manually change the video from Anaboom video to the YouTube format. And that's something that you could build an engine for. It's really silly to have to go after somebody in R&D every single day and bug them about it. It also wastes a lot of time. So I put into the Jira for them to build something that did it automatically, and they built something in a couple of hours, and that took out a mass amount of hassle, which also helped. Yeah?
Hello. I was wondering when you talked about the standing up, and I don't know, it for me it felt American. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I was wondering, are there any cultural differences that you already seen between U.S., Israeli, and maybe even Germany in marketing? Maybe some anecdotes.
Okay, so I don't speak German, so I really can't tell you anything about German marketing. Israelis don't do marketing. They hire Americans.
Oh, Germans don't either.
Israeli marketing actually is more on the high performance side. They like to focus on the numbers. Americans like to focus more on the behavior, and I have no idea about Germany. But from what it seems to me is Germany is a lot about advertising and media, and not necessarily as much about conversations. This is just a top-level observation from not understanding the language at all and only having been here a few times. But the people I know in the industry who do marketing tend to be more media-based and advertising-based than on the social side. So, and I'm in circles where I should be meeting social people, and I'm not. So because of that, I'm just kind of making that assumption. Could be completely wrong. I have no idea. So that would be my own assumption, my own observances on that. But when it comes to Israel, their strong point is all in the analytics and the smart learning. Thought engine, blah blah blah, analytics and algorithms and da 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 da. So machine learning. So that's where they focus, and then they work with my agency or hire Americans, or there's plenty of Americans in Israel, so that's not much of an issue over there, and a lot of Americans who are amazing at marketing over there. So, is that all for time? Seriously? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to be speaking at Pirate Summit, and you can check out my decks on SlideShare. Just go /ShareAble. Find me online, LinkedIn, whatever, Facebook, Twitter. I'm everywhere, and it was great talking to you. Thank you. Have a great night.